Hey YouTube. Alright, so I have to make a video about what's been going on because stuff's getting really real. Um, but before, let me tell you guys a story, right? So, I was working at this racetrack while I was still in college, right? Not the gas station, an actual racetrack, because I was always big into cars. And I was teaching all these kids, they had this summer camp where they'd have these children that would come in and they learn how to do high performance driving in go karts and stuff, fun stuff. And I was there teaching them the physics and science behind race cars. I tried to teach them like physics lessons in a fun way that they could relate to. Well, anyway, while we were there, we had kids from all over the world, right? And we had this one kid from Russia. Now, this kid kept getting into fights with everybody there, right? And um, it got so bad that the camp counselor actually called his parents and decided to send the kid back home early, right? And she assigned me to basically shadow the kid around, and because she decided to isolate the kid from the rest of the group because she thought that he was a danger to everybody else, and she basically left me in charge of him. So, I wanted to show the kid a good time because, he's just a kid. This kid was literally like, I think 11 years old or 12 years old, right? So I wanted to show him around. And I was talking to him some more. I tried to figure out what was going on. I still let him go on the rides by himself and stuff. Make sure that he had a good time. And then I started figuring out what was happening. Um, you know how kids are, especially around that age, 11 to 12. Kids like to tease people and they like to get a rise out to each other, talk a lot of shit and stuff. Well, the problem is this kid didn't understand that. So what would happen is somebody would tease him, right? As kids do, they'd say something, and he wouldn't tease back. He just punch him in the face. Or he would take a lot of the insults that they were throwing at him personally. And his response would not be to tease back, it would literally be just to punch him in the face. That's his culture. You see, and after when I understood that that was what was happening, he was a perfectly normal kid. But that's just his culture. This is what Americans fundamentally don't get about Russians and really about a lot of cultures around the world. You see, here we live in this culture of bullshit where you have a lot of people who like to talk and act like they're tough guys. I mean, we see it with the conservatives all the time with the gun thing. How many times have you heard people talking about, if he does this or if she does this, I'm gonna beat their ass, blah blah blah. And you know that they're not gonna do it, right? We live in this culture where we make idle threats, we make all these idle talks, all these idle promises. We see it with the politicians all the time. They say one thing, we vote for them, they do something completely opposite. And what was the number one thing that Trump supporters said prior to the election? Oh yeah, Trump saying that he's going to do all of this stuff, but he's not going to actually do it. So we've grown accustomed to this culture of bullshit. The problem and the thing that we don't fundamentally get here is that this doesn't apply to the rest of the world. The rest of the world takes shit seriously, and especially Russians. When they say something, you need to take it fucking seriously. Now, the reason why I'm making this video is in light of a new development with Putin announcing that he now has a hypersonic missile, a hypersonic nuclear missile. This is a missile with a nuclear powered engine. It has unlimited range, and because it's hypersonic, it flies up to, I think, Mach 5. There is literally no technology that exists that can intercept this missile. If this is real, and there's no reason to believe that it's not, we're fucking fucked. There's literally no way you can fight against something like that. And understand something. People like to talk about Russia as if, they're a glorified third world country and all of this stuff. But let's not forget, these are the same people who, during the height of the Cold War, where we were developing, the biggest bomb that we ever tested was a 15 megaton nuclear weapon that was so heavy that our military strategists were talking about putting it on board a ship and then sailing the ship into an enemy bay and self-destructing the ship. That was the strategy that they were employing to deliver this weapon, this 15 megaton weapon. Russia detonated a 100 megaton weapon that the designer, after he designed the weapon, freaked out on the night before the test and decided to reduce it to a 50 megaton weapon because he was afraid that it would detonating a 100 megaton weapon would set off a chain reaction that would incinerate the atmosphere and exterminate all life on the planet. So he reduced the yield and the fuel by 50% before doing the test. They detonated the world's biggest nuclear weapon. And what was really scary about that for our scientists was the fact that it was deliverable by aircraft. That bomb was so powerful that the pilots who dropped the bomb, they almost actually crashed because their aircraft dropped several feet and they were lucky to save the aircraft. The blast was so powerful, it was blowing down buildings and destroying windows 300 miles away from the blast site. 300 miles away. That's what Russia had. That bomb was so powerful that it caused an earthquake in California. That's the reality of what the Russians had. And immediately after, when we found out that, no, that was actually a nuclear test, that was when the Nuclear Test Ban Treaty got created. Because that was the very first time it hit everybody that we could literally destroy our life on the planet. And that was when we started moving towards mutual disarmament, etc. Because it was getting out of hand. So, and this is the thing with Russia. We had no clue that that weapon even existed or that they were working on anything like that until they detonated it. That's Russian culture. They're not bullshit. They're not about faking stuff or lying. It's real. So when he says that he has this weapon, you bet your ass it's real. It's fully functional. And they can and will use it. Another thing that people don't understand about the Cuban Missile Crisis, the general that was in Cuba supervising the missile, he had full authority to launch at any time. If he thought for any second that they were going to be attacked by a US force, he had full authority to launch those nukes. He didn't have to radio into any superiors to get authority. This is Russian culture. So the reason why I'm saying this is because Trump is dealing and playing with fire right now. And the news media, this is what's crazy, is how they're reporting this. They're trying to pass it off like, oh yeah, no. It's just propaganda. They're just talking shit. No. No. You should be fucking terrified right now because. And you guys have to understand something else. The reason why Putin's doing this. It's not because he's evil or because Russia is crazy. Go Google right now US NATO bases near Russia and look at the map that comes up. And then you'll get exactly why everything is happening right now. It's because we're literally positioning bases, we're surrounding Russia right now with military bases and missiles. They literally think we're about to invade them. That's what all of this is about. So anyway, I just had to make this because somebody's got to say what's happening.